Arminius, a prince of the Cherusci tribe, was born at the dawn of the 1st century AD in the heart of Germania. As the Roman Empire's influence expanded into the region, his father, Segimer, forged an alliance with Rome. In this alliance, Arminius was entrusted to the Romans, where he was raised and educated in the grandeur of the Eternal City. While in Rome, Arminius grew into a fierce and distinguished warrior. His military prowess earned him Roman citizenship and the rank of equites, placing him just beneath the senatorial class. From the son of a barbarian, he rose to mingle with Rome's elite. Yet, despite his new status, Arminius never forgot his roots. His loyalty to his Germanic heritage remained unshaken, even after years of service to the Roman Empire. Arminius's ascent continued as he became a trusted officer in the Roman army. His high rank eventually led him to be stationed in Germania, where he assisted Governor Varus in his efforts to subjugate the local tribes. It was during this time, however, that Arminius quietly orchestrated a revolt that would change the course of history. In a bold act of defiance, he ambushed and annihilated 3 Roman legions in the dense, treacherous terrain of Teutoburg Forest. The aftermath of the battle left Rome reeling. Though the Romans sought vengeance, Arminius continued to fight off Roman invasions in subsequent battles, defending the land he held dear. Arminius's triumph is widely regarded by historians as one of the most decisive battles in the ancient world, with some even calling it Rome's greatest defeat. For thousands of years, Arminius has been celebrated as a hero of the Germanic peoples, his name serving as a symbol of resilience and national pride. This is his story. In the year 1 AD, Emperor Tiberius launched a prolonged campaign against the Germanic tribes in the northern territories of the upper Danube and east of the Rhine. Their efforts to extend the reach of the Roman Empire was met with some success, as they managed to defeat several tribes, including the Cherusci. By the year 7 AD, the region surrounding the upper Danube and the eastern Rhine was deemed pacified. The Roman authorities appointed Varus as governor of Germania to establish the new province. Following the Roman conquest of the Cherusci in the year 1 AD, the tribe sent hostages as was customary, among whom was their prince Arminius. Arminius was taken to Rome after the subjugation of his people. There, he was trained as a Roman military commander, was granted Roman citizenship, and was elevated to the rank of equites, a status akin to that of a minor noble. Fluent in Latin, Arminius joined the Roman military alongside his younger brother Flavus. The Romans wanted to raise the sons of the tribal aristocracy into their conditions and convince them of the superiority and power of Roman culture over any other. Between the years 1 AD and 6 AD, Arminius served in the Roman army, receiving a thorough military education and gaining citizenship, all before returning to his homeland in Germania. In around the year 4 AD, he took command of the Cheruscian detachment in the Roman auxiliary forces, likely participating in the Pannonian Wars in what is now modern-day Bulgaria and Serbia, where he distinguished himself in battle. Arminius returned to northern Germania in around 7 or 8 AD, at a time when the Roman Empire sought to extend its reach. However, rather than supporting the Roman expansion, Arminius began secretly plotting to unite the Germanic tribes and thwart Rome's ambitions. This was no easy task, for the tribes were fiercely independent, and many had long histories of conflict with one another. Though outwardly Roman in appearance, Arminius remained steadfast in his loyalty to his Cherusci heritage. From the outset, he envisioned a rebellion to halt Rome's further conquests and bring the Germanic tribes together under his leadership. His opportunity came when the Roman governor of Germania, Varus, proved to be inept in managing the region. Unfamiliar with Germanic customs, Varus alienated the locals with harsh judgments, oppressive taxes, and strict laws, quickly earning their disdain. At the same time, the Roman military presence in Germania weakened. Of the 11 legions stationed there, 8 were reassigned to other parts of the empire, leaving Varus with only 3 legions. This shift in power presented Arminius with an opening to act. Ancient warfare was bound by seasons, with campaigns typically running from March to October, followed by a return to winter quarters. As the winter of 8 to 9 AD approached, Varus planned a simple campaign for the coming year. His army would gather together and cross the Rhine and march through Cherusci territory and establish a summer camp from which further operations would be launched. But Arminius, still trusted by Varus, had already set his trap. By positioning the Romans in Cherusci lands, Arminius could observe their movements and delay their return to winter quarters while preparing for a devastating ambush in the favourable terrain of his homeland. The summer proved pivotal for Arminius. As a commander of the Roman auxiliaries, he bided his time during the early months, but knew the moment to strike was fast approaching. In July, he instructed some of his allies to begin raiding Roman outposts. He then advised Varus to send a detachment of troops to quell the unrest, splitting the Roman forces in the process. Meanwhile, Arminius arranged for his Cherusci auxiliaries to infiltrate Roman work parties, pretending to be loyal soldiers before betraying them in the midst of their tasks. When Varus was finally informed of the treachery, he dismissed the report, unwilling to believe that his trusted ally Arminius could be plotting against him. Varus and his legions marched straight into the trap that Arminius had so carefully laid. The Cherusci, Arminius' own tribe, joined forces with at least 5 other Germanic tribes to ambush the Romans. At this time, Germania was a wilderness of untamed forests, swamps, and marshes. The Roman legions, now caught in the heart of this land, were forced to navigate the dense and treacherous Teutoburg Forest. The march was grueling, the season was already late, and there were no roads to follow. The ground was so sodden with the rains of the autumn, and streams had swollen into impossible torrents. In order to make a way forward, the Romans were forced to chop down trees and construct makeshift bridges across the rushing waters. The rain fell harshly, and the wind howled through the towering trees. Heavily burdened with provisions and baggage, the soldiers toiled through the swamp and the forest, each step heavy with the weight of their grim task. The Roman line grew perilously long, stretched out to over 15 to 20 kilometers, and it became disorganized. It was then that the Germanic warriors struck. Armed with swords, long lances, and narrow-bladed short spears, they attacked from all sides, surrounding the Roman army and pelting them with a rain of javelins. The Romans' misfortune only deepened when a torrential downpour began, further hindering their progress. Unable to move forward, Varus ordered the men to make camp for the night. Desperate, the Romans attempted a night march to escape, but walked right into another trap set by Arminius. From the shelter of the forest, the Germanic forces launched a devastating attack from concealed positions, leaving the Romans exposed and vulnerable. When defeat became inevitable, Varus chose to end his own life, falling on his sword in a final act of despair. The casualties were catastrophic, with estimates ranging from 15,000 to 20,000 dead Romans. Many of the officers followed their commander's example, taking their own lives in the traditional Roman fashion of falling on their swords. Tacitus, the Roman historian, recorded that some officers were captured by the Germanic forces and were ritually sacrificed as part of their religious ceremonies, their bodies cooked in pots, and their bones used in sacred rites. Others were ransomed, and many common soldiers were taken as slaves. In the aftermath, the Germanic tribes swiftly swept through the Roman forts, garrisons, and cities, erasing every trace of Roman presence. The victory of Arminius dissuaded the Romans from pursuing the conquest of Germania, and so it can be considered as one of the most important events in European history. At some point, Arminius married Thusnelda, a Germanic princess. However, the news of Rome's defeat would cause widespread panic. The following year, Tiberius, the adopted son of Augustus, arrived in Germania with 10 legions, reinforcing the defences. However, despite 2 years of campaigns, the Germans avoided direct confrontation. Tiberius returned to Rome after rumours of the death of Augustus, and it wasn't until the year 14 AD that his successor, Emperor Tiberius, authorised a counterattack. Germanicus, Tiberius's general, launched a campaign against the Germans, starting with an unexpected assault on the Mars tribe, leaving their lands looted and their people slaughtered. Tacticus wrote, "Neither sex nor age had mercy." Germanicus's forces continued their campaign, but Arminius avoided direct battle, knowing his forces were outnumbered. Internal division also weakened him. His father-in-law and brother remained loyal to Rome, and his pregnant wife was captured and handed over to the Romans. Germanicus even recaptured the eagle of the 19th Legion, a significant blow to Arminius. In the year 15 AD, Arminius was finally ready for a confrontation, and launched an attack on the retreating Roman forces under General Caecina. The Romans struggled as they marched along the narrow long bridges through the swampy terrain. Caecina built a makeshift camp, but the Cherusci harassed the Romans so relentlessly, destroying their wagons and supplies. The Romans barely escaped further disaster thanks to their delay in looting and their eventual retreat to a better fortified position. Though victorious, the Romans suffered heavy losses. In the year 16 AD, Germanicus pressed on with his campaign. The barbarian tribes, now worn thin by constant raids, finally confronted the Romans at the Battle of Idistaviso. Though sources differ on the details, the Romans eventually triumphed, and Arminius was wounded in the fight. Tacticus claimed he narrowly escaped capture due to his fame among both the Germanic and Roman forces. Determined, Arminius regrouped for another ambush near the Angravarian wall, where he was joined by former Roman allies. Germanicus, aware of the trap, preemptively attacked. The Roman forces broke through the German lines, while Germanicus led the main army to strike from behind. The battle was fierce, but the Romans ultimately drove the Germans off the ramparts and slaughtered any who fled. Though victorious, Germanicus's campaign ended there. He devastated the lands of the Mars and Chatti tribes, but no significant battles followed. In the year 17 AD, Germanicus was ordered to return to Rome, as Tiberius feared his growing military fame could threaten his reign. Upon his return, Germanicus celebrated a triumph, and the Rhine remained the boundary between the Roman Empire and the Germanic tribes for years to come. The Romans' departure from Germania did not mark the end of Arminius' struggles, for he soon encountered a formidable rival, Marbod, the king of the Marcomanni. Like Arminius, Marbod had spent his youth as a Roman hostage, learning their customs and military strategies. Upon returning to his people, he led the Marcomanni eastward beyond Roman control, founding a powerful state in what is now Bohemia. By the year 6 AD, with Roman approval, he proclaimed himself as the king of the Germans. However, Marbod's reign was short-lived. After Arminius' victory in Teutoburg Forest, his fame spread, and many tribes abandoned Marbod in favour of Arminius. In the year 17 AD, with the Roman expansion halted, Arminius attacked the Marcomanni and defeated Marbod in the Battle of the Hercynian Forest. Yet Marbod's kingdom proved resilient, defended by natural terrain and fortified by his appeal to Rome for aid. The war stalled until Marbod was betrayed by one of his own nobles who defeated him, captured his capital, and forced him to flee to Rome. Arminius' victory over Marbod cemented his power, but his ambition to unite all Germanic tribes under his rule and to become a king in his own right alienated many. Opposition grew, and a civil war ensued, though little is known about it. Tacitus notes that Arminius' fortunes faltered, and in the year 21 AD, he was killed by his own family, possibly at the hands of his envious relatives, including his own brother Flavus or his uncle. Arminius lived to around the age of 37. Despite his later attempts to impose his will over all the Germanic tribes, Arminius remained a hero to many. Tacitus recorded that even in his time, songs and legends about him were still told throughout Germania. For thousands of years his name would endure, with many songs, myths and legends springing up about him. I hope you all enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to like, subscribe and share, and I'll see you all soon for another History Profile.